this is Jackie, I'm the librarian here at Blue Mountain Community College. You sent me an email about early childhood education and its benefits. You didn't sign your name, so I don't know who you are. Maybe you were in one of my classes the other day, writing 16, writing 115 and such. So one thing I'm going to point out to you, I may have already covered in class, but since I'm not sure, I'm going to show you a couple of our databases that you can start researching your topic in. And we'll talk a little bit about that topic in your research when we get there. But the first thing I want to make sure of is that you have a library card number. If you don't have one yet, what you'll want to do is, well, first go to our library page, which I'm at now. You go here first by clicking at Blue Mountain Community College, bluecc.edu, and then you click on library. That takes you here. Once you're here, if you don't have a library card yet, you can just come down to Services and Support, click there, and you'll see a link that takes you to our registration form. And you fill that out, and we email you back with a library card number. The reason you need that is because all the resources I'm going to show you, they're available off campus, but you need your library card number to get into them. You need to prove that you're a student, because we actually pay quite a bit for these resources. So once you do that, where we're going to spend the rest of our time is in our library databases. And we should be able to find most of what we need in our top library databases here. So one thing that so your topic is pretty big. It's early childhood education and the benefits. I think that's a great place to start, but I think already you're might start thinking about, well, what are some of those benefits? And research more particular into that area. So one way to look at it is early childhood education is your big, like, this is the what I want to talk about. But you need to go a little bit more in depth on, well, what's your so what? So you might say, oh, I don't know, early child education. Well, your so what might be that improves student literacy or childhood behavior or childhood obesity or other, who knows what. It could improve, I don't know, parent relationships and such. So and social relationships. So probably thinking a little bit more about what that benefit is and thinking about that, it will probably really help you with your search. And sometimes you have to do some searching before you've decided exactly what you're interested in. So we're going to focus on two databases. We're going to look at Academic One File and Academic Search Complete. So I'm going to start here, and both these databases, they look a little bit differently, but they do kind of similar things. They both search across magazines, journals, news sources, video sources, and they are all kind of organized based around kind of those keywords that you're looking for. It's not like doing a search in Google where anything could come up. Resources in here have to have gone through some sort of process of review to make sure they're credible. Again, Google, anybody can publish to Google. Here you have to actually have some credibility behind that. So this is where you can start building your search, and that's like I said, really start with your what. That's great. So early childhood education. But one thing I would also think about right away, and sometimes the databases help you with that, is looking at early childhood education. Early childhood intervention is used quite a bit. You might also look at maybe specific things within early childhood education. You might want to look at Montessori, the Montessori method. You might want to look at Head Start as an early childhood education option, or the phrase preschool. So think about all those things as you're doing your search, because maybe your research you find, I really want to talk about the advantages of the Head Start program, or I really want to look at the Montessori method of teaching for kids and the advantages of that. But you can always start with early childhood education, and then you go ahead and put it like an and then that's where your kind of that so what really comes into play. So for example, I'll just say early childhood education, and I'm going to say, I'm in the library, so I'm going to say literacy. You could also say reading, but just as an example, and we'll see what comes up. All right. So still pretty big results. In this database, what comes up first is academic journals. Then below that's magazines, books, news, and then video. So just to describe these, Academic journals, those are journals, they're essentially magazines. You know, they come out either monthly, you know, every couple months. But the people who publish in academic journals, they're really, in a sense, for that academic community. The articles tend to be written by professors, scholars, researchers, and depending on what class you're in, your instructor may have said you have to use something from an academic journal. In that case, great, you're kind of in a great spot to be. But for a lot of our other classes, looking at magazines is totally fine. And of course, books, news, and videos can be fine as well. Magazines, those are a little bit different. You know, the articles in there aren't necessarily written by researchers or professors. They're written by journalists. And the journalists are there to help kind of tell that story to a reading audience. That's what kind of sells them, right? It helps you, makes it this readable thing because they're trying to write that story that's readable. So they can be very useful, especially as you're first learning about a subject and you're getting a little bit more in depth. So you can always click there as well. So a couple of things, you can browse through, read some of these titles and see what's, maybe if anything is useful to you or important to you. Hopefully something comes up right away. I just like to browse through and just see. Again, you can see a lot of different topics right here that might come up. The best use of federal funds, really, I mean, if you're looking at a funding issue. And cross-national, yeah, so a lot of perspectives there. So a lot to look at. You might not find anything there, so that's something to keep in mind. So some things that you can do is you can either search within these results if you want to be a little bit more specific. So say you had typed just early childhood education, and you didn't include anything else. Well, you could just always limit at this point if you wanted to. If you said, well, no, I'm really interested. In fact, I'll show you. Let me take this out. Go ahead and hit search. And you can see I have a lot more because it's a lot broader search. But say at this point I really wanted to look at childhood, you know, I don't know, health. Maybe I was really interested in their health and well-being. And wow, so this is looking at education and socioeconomic status and looking at post-stress, stroke, and depression later in life. Wow, that's a very serious long-term impact that you might want to consider, for example. But, you know, but just as an example, that's one way you can narrow and kind of play with that idea when you're thinking about that so what. And you can always just, if you don't want to focus on health, you want to exit out, you can certainly do that. And you're back to where you started. You're back to early childhood education. And then say you wanted to, no, I really want to focus on childhood obesity. You know, for example, there's health, but then there's childhood obesity. Maybe that's what I'm interested in. You know, maybe not, but I just want to show you the examples there. The other things that you can do, and let me go ahead and close that out to take us back to our broader search. The other things you can do is you can limit by date range. You can look at these subject headings, which can be very helpful. Say you're really actually more into like, oh, actually, you know what, I'm more into childhood development. Well, you can click there, and that might make a difference. Oh, here's our literacy. I could click there. Academic achievement. I want to know how well our students are doing. You can certainly look at that. And parent participation, that can be huge. So that's one way to also focus in on. So if you, for example, wanted to look at parent participation, you're down to those articles focused on that. And again, I can X out of there. And I'm going to show you one last thing, and then we'll actually look at an article. And this last thing is this topic finder. Some people really find this handy. It comes up first as these tiles, which nobody likes. The wheel tends to help people. But so kind of at the center here is that concept, early childhood education. And say maybe you wanted to look at, you know, early childhood education and the concept of play. That would take you to the top articles that have been selected that really look at the concept of play and early childhood education. Or here, school readiness. Are kids more prepared to start school and transition into school if they've had early childhood education? So something to keep in mind. I'm just going to back arrow here to get out of there. So some people really find that helpful. But really what it does is help you think about that what and so what. Again, we did early childhood education. You could easily do Head Start and similar things, and perhaps, you know, and behavior, or again, school readiness. So I think you kind of get the idea. So so let's go ahead and look at these. This is academic journals. I am going to click on magazines. Let's see. Ooh, they're saying Head Start gains fine to wash out by 3rd grade. Oh no, I don't think that's true. But here's another article that looks at the positive results of early Head Start, especially in this case for low-income families. This article is looking at school readiness. So again, whatever, I'm just picking one here. Click on the title, and that actually takes you to the full article, which you can read through. You can download the PDF if you prefer that method, but some other things you can do, and all databases help you with this, is that there's a citation tool. You're using MLA for this class, and this is a great guideline. And double check with your instructor what they'd like to see. But in general, that gives you a really good idea of how you would cite this article at the end of your paper. You can send it to a Google Drive, you can email it to yourself. So pretty handy stuff. So I think that the database itself, I think, is pretty easy. It's thinking about those keywords to think about, well, what are you really interested in? The next database I'm going to show you is from Academic Search Complete, so that's just above. And actually within Academic Search Complete, you can see it looks a little bit different, but it does similar things to that last database. I'm going to click on Choose Databases, and I'm also going to click on this database called ERIC. ERIC's an education database. You wouldn't know it, but it is. It's an education database that's been around forever. But same concept. Go ahead and type in like childhood or early childhood education, and then you could add like and Head Start or Head Start. And Head Start is 2 words. You type it. And same thing, you add like kind of your so what. So say we wanted to focus on, I'm going to say obesity again. And go ahead and click search. And, oh, wow, well, if this was your topic, here you go. Can increasing daily duration of Head Start reduce childhood obesity? Oh. Similar, again, you would just click on the title to get to the article. What's a little bit different is that the article might be over here on the left-hand side in a PDF form, which I can see right here. So you would actually click there to get the full article. On the right-hand side, similar tools. You can email this to yourself. Here's a citation tool, so you would click there. Scroll down to MLA, and you have a pretty good guideline for what your citation might look like. Some instructors don't want the URL, so just double check with your instructor to see what they would like as an example citation. And I won't go into all the details of why, and why not. But going back a little really quickly, similar things, you can limit by date range. In this case, it looks like this. This is this little slider thing, so you might want to get up to the century. They'll kick out that one article. For education, I think you can go back, 10 years, and you're fine with your research because you might be looking at something longitudinal. Other subject areas like health or business, you probably want to stick to more recent content often. It just really depends. But again, similar, you can limit by subject heading and focus in on any of these things if you really wanted to focus on, I don't know, child health or elementary education or physical activities in early childhood ed, for example. That would limit you to those articles. So I hope that makes sense. It's kind of a whirlwind. So try it out. If you think a little bit more about your topic and have that kind of more of an idea of the benefits you'd like to explore with early childhood education, just email me back and we can talk a little bit more about where you might go and dive in a little bit more for those resources. But that's really kind of it in a nutshell. It's like thinking of your topic, early childhood education, or Head Start or preschool. Think of all those different terms, and then really thinking about that kind of so what that you're really getting at. And sometimes specifically, you can try benefits or impacts, but you might also want to start digging into those really specific so whats of this early childhood intervention. So yeah, please just give me an email if you need any more info. Okay, take care.